Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Scout Selections here for Saturday, November 2nd. Before we get into today's plays of the day, I should say, we'll recap what happened yesterday. Unfortunately, we picked up a loss with the Utah Jazz minus 4.5. They won by 30-something the first time these two teams played, and Utah came out flat. They ended up taking the lead in various parts of the third and fourth quarter, but they were unable to hold on as they ended up losing outright. In terms of the recent run, sorry we're in a bit of a slump, but we look to bounce back. I definitely like today's card on Saturday, and I hopefully will be able to give out some winners. And without further ado, we're just going to dive right into it. And the first play, these are going to be in no particular order, but the first play that we're going to be talking about is going to be between SMU and Memphis. And this is kind of the primetime game for this weekend, which kind of sums up just how bad of a weekend it is for primetime sports. But at the same point, we simply just think that this line's a bit questionable, and we like the line here for that reason. So I'm actually just looking through right now just to confirm what the line was, because I know that it's been shifting all over the place. But in terms of the play of the day, we are actually going to be taking Memphis minus 6, which is available on FanDuel at minus 110. Now, at first glance, you're going to look at this line and say, well, it should be a good matchup. You have two ranked teams. You have the 15th ranked team SMU versus the 24th ranked team Memphis. However, Memphis opened up as a 3-point favorite. They're currently up to 6 or even 6.5. I actually got this line early at minus 5, but I didn't really think the line would keep going. It's at 6.5 at some spots, but still minus 6 at FanDuel. Main reason why I could think of is just based on the fact that the market just doesn't think that highly in SMU. SMU, they are undefeated. They didn't really look that great against Houston last week as they held on for dear life as they won on the road by 3 points. Plus, it is worth mentioning that SMU is dealing with some injuries as their star receiver, Reggie Robertson Jr., who's leading the team with 803 receiving yards and 6 receiving touchdowns, is out for this game, so SMU will be missing its number one receiver. But as a whole, both these teams don't play much defense, so I think that's kind of a wash. Bouchel's a bit of an interception problem with 7 picks. But overall, Memphis at home, they've also I definitely like that spot for them. Memphis also dominated the series as SMU was 0-5 ATS in the last 5 meetings. So I think it makes sense, but the fact that the 24th ranked team at home is a 6-point favorite against the 15th ranked team tells me all I need to know. I think Memphis should win this game by at least a touchdown. I wouldn't be surprised if this game turns into a blowout. I think Memphis could win this game by double digits based on the line alone. But for the play that I will give out minus 6, which is available on FanDuel at minus 110. Now, in terms of the second play of the day, we're going to be talking about basketball, and it's going to be in a matchup between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Washington Wizards. And for this play, we actually like the home team here with the Wizards based on the spot, and the best line available for that game will be the Washington Wizards, which is available at minus 3 at minus 112 on DraftKings. Now, at first glance, you might say, well, why do you want to take the Wizards? The Timberwolves are a much better team. And the answer is that at full strength, they are the better team. However, if people have forgotten, Karl Anthony Towns is suspended for this game due to his fight with Joel Embiid a couple days ago, which means that the Timberwolves' offense, the starting lineup is supposed to look like this. Jeff Teague, Andrew Wiggins, then you have Graham, Covington, and Vonleh. Overall, that lineup means that Wiggins should be taking roughly 30 shots, and that is not a recipe for success. I know that you can say that Towns is just one player, but when your best player is averaging over 27 points, over 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 2.5 steals, and 1.8 blocks, I don't think he's going to be easy to replace. Washington is everybody who ended up playing in the last couple of games healthy, so they're a much healthier team. Plus, the fact of the matter is that even though Washington isn't great, they did just score 158 points against the Rockets. I know they lost that game, but that does mean that the Wizards have a capable offense that is able of scoring points when needed, and I think that the lack of a rim protector for the Timberwolves, plus a lack of a number one option, now that Towns out of the lineup, I think Washington should be able to do well. I think Beal is the best player on the court in this game now, and I think that just based on the fact that so much of the Timberwolves offense relies on Towns, I just think they're going to be out of sorts. And I think it makes sense why this line has climbed steadily over the last, I'd say, 12 hours or so. As if you've looked at the lines for this game, Washington originally opened up at roughly a minus 1 favorite. They're currently up to minus 3, and that's the line I like. It is actually on FanDuel right now at minus 3.5, so I know that this line will end up climbing at some point. So for that reason, we're going to give it out at minus 3, which is available on DraftKings at minus 112. So the two plays of the day will be on the Wizards, minus 3 at minus 112 on DraftKings, as well as Memphis against SMU, and we like -6, which is available on FanDuel at -110, and those will be the 2 plays of the day. Now, in terms of some of the leans, a lot to cover on the card today, as you also have a very star-packed UFC card. In terms of the fight itself, the main fight, I'm actually going to side with Diaz here. Masvidal versus Diaz is a very interesting fight. I question, just based on the title, the belt that they're fighting for anyway, I'm curious if anybody will actually try any takedowns or anything like that, because I know Diaz has spoken publicly about how nobody wants to watch an actual wrestling match. They want to see people punch each other in the face. However, Diaz is a significantly better fighter on the ground and in the clinch, so I think Masvidal has more knockout power, but Diaz hasn't been knocked out in a couple of years. He's one of the toughest people in the entire sport. I think Diaz will do his best to try to outpoint him. I think he's got better stamina than Masvidal, and I think that Diaz will win this either by decision, but I think that Diaz does have a shot at winning this by submission, which was available at +600 in some books. I think that Diaz won't try to actively go for takedowns, but I think if he ends up in the full guard, Diaz is known for going for a signature arm triangle. He's going for a signature triangle, which I think will be effective, as Masvidal's submission defense leaves a lot to be desired. I think that Diaz has a lot of value here at roughly +140 or +150 in some of the offshore markets. A lean to Diaz on that one. In terms of the other fights, looking at Gastelum versus Till, a lot of money's coming on Gastelum. I'll lean to him. I know that you've had a questionable issue with his weigh-in, but that doesn't impact the fight at all. Might impact how much he's getting paid, but it doesn't impact betting on the fight. Gastelum's gone from roughly -160 to -220. I'll lean to Gastelum. I've never really been a big Till fan, so I'll lean to Gastelum on that one. Other than that, though, you have Corey Anderson versus Johnny Walker. I'm not going against Johnny Walker. Walker's one of my favorite fighters in the UFC, and I just think he's extremely entertaining. I think he's going to win by knockout. I think Anderson possesses some aspects of his game that could cause some problems, but at the same point, I just think Walker's too explosive, and I think Walker will go for some highlight knockout, and I think he will be able to land it. Lean to Walker by knockout. Other than that, looking at the rest of the card here, a lot of big-name fighters. I don't really see anything with a ton of value on it, so I'm not really going to talk about it, but those are my leans on the main fights for the afternoon. Other than that, though, looking at the rest of the card, in terms of college football, I already gave out the play from a couple of days ago in Arkansas State, so there's no reason on so I already have given out another play on that. But in terms of the card itself, I have some personal money on USC against Oregon. Do I recommend taking it? Not necessarily, but I definitely think that for the line itself, I think it makes a lot of sense. So I personally am leaning to USC on that one. Other than that, though, not really much else to talk about. In terms of hockey, I know some people wanted my thoughts on hockey, so I'll give mine out. In terms of the card, I lean to the Islanders +104 on the money line. I know Buffalo just got embarrassed by Washington last night, but the Islanders have won, so they might come out a little bit more focused for this one. But the Islanders have won 8 straight. They've been rolling, and I'm not going to go against them, as the Islanders beat the Lightning last night pretty convincingly, as they have played a very solid brand of hockey under Barry Trotz. Lean to the Islanders on that one, as Buffalo will be using its backup goalie, and the Islanders will be using Varlamov, who originally is their starter. So I think the Islanders also have a goaltending advantage. Lean to Varlamov in net with the Islanders in the money line at +104. Other than that, though, not really much else to talk about. So the 2 plays of the day, once again, will be on Memphis -6 as well as the Wizards -3. Other than that, though, that's going to do for this installment of Scott Selections here for Saturday, November 2nd. Good luck to all of you in your respective bets today. Bye, everyone.